Picture this. I'm standing at the edge of my kitchen counter, the late afternoon sun spilling through the window, casting golden streaks across the worn wooden floor. There's a faint hum of life outside. Distant lawnmowers, the occasional bark of a neighbor's dog. That in here, it's just me and the quiet rhythm of my own thoughts. My name's Elena. I'm 34, and this little slice of suburbia has been my world for the better part of a decade. 8 years to be exact. Shared with Mark, my husband, who's 37, and somehow still the most unpredictable force in my life. He's a tech guy by trade, but his mind is a kaleidoscope of wild ideas and sharp wit, always dreaming up something offbeat to shake up our days. Whether it's concocting a dish with ingredients that shouldn't even share a shelf, or dragging me out for an unplanned drive to nowhere, Mark lives for the unexpected. And me, I'm just trying to keep pace. Our home is a 2-story haven, tucked into a sleepy street lined with maple trees. It's not fancy, but it's ours. Every creak of the stairs, every scuff on the walls tells a story of us. The kitchen, though, that's the heart of it all. It's warm and lived in, with a big oak table that's seen more late-night talks than I can count. The air often carries the ghost of coffee or the rich tang of red wine lingering from evenings where we've sat across from each other, glasses clinking softly, unraveling the day. I can still smell Mark's cologne sometimes, a subtle mix of cedar and spice, clinging to the space, even when he's not around. It's a scent that grounds me, reminds me of the man who can light up a room with a single smirk. I'm a freelance graphic designer, which means most of my days are spent in the small office upstairs, hunched over my laptop, piecing together visuals for clients while the world outside hums along without me. I love the freedom of it, the quiet control over my hours. But there are moments when I feel tethered. Mark's spirit, his boundless need to push limits, it's something I cherish about him. But it also makes me wonder if I'm enough, if I'm matching that energy or just coasting in his wake. Our relationship is a good one, solid and warm, filled with laughter and those small, tender gestures, like the way he'll brush a strand of hair from my face without even thinking. Yet beneath the surface, there's a restlessness in me, a quiet itch I can't quite name. It's not dissatisfaction, not exactly. It's more like a whisper, a curiosity about what else might be out there, waiting just beyond the edges of this life we've built. I remember the way the light hits the kitchen tiles on certain evenings, turning everything soft and amber, like the world's holding its breath. Mark and I often end up there in the kitchen after a long day, just the two of us, wrapped in the kind of stillness that feels heavier than it should. That particular evening, the air was thick with the comforting aroma of roasted garlic from the dinner we just shared. A simple pasta dish Mark had thrown together with his usual flair. We were leaning against the counter, each of us cradling a glass of bold red wine, the warmth of the alcohol settling into my bones, loosening the edges of my thoughts when Mark turned to me, his hazel eyes catching the dim light with a mischievous glint I've come to recognize as trouble. He tilted his head just so, a smirk playing at the corner of his mouth, and asked, "Have you ever thought about being with a woman?" The question hit me like a rogue wave, unexpected and cold, knocking the breath right out of me. My cheeks burned, a flush creeping up my neck as I gripped the stem of my glass a little tighter, the cool crystal grounding me against the sudden heat in my face. Inside, my mind was a storm, because truth be told, I had thought about it, not in any concrete way, but in fleeting, hazy moments, those quiet, private seconds late at night, or in the lull of a slow afternoon, when images would flicker through my head. Soft curves, a different kind of touch, a curiosity I'd always pushed aside, buried under layers of guilt or confusion. I'd never dared to linger on those thoughts, never given them voice. And yet here was Mark, peeling back that hidden corner of my mind with a single casual question. My voice trembled just a little as I forced myself to meet his gaze. Yes, I admitted, the word barely above a whisper, but only in my imagination. I waited for judgment, for a shift in his expression, but there was none. Mark just nodded, his smile soft, almost encouraging, as if my answer was the most natural thing in the world. He didn't push, didn't pry. Instead, he took a slow sip of his wine, letting the moment settle, and then steered us back to safer ground. Something mundane about a project, at work, or a movie we'd been meaning to watch. But I couldn't follow the thread of the conversation. My mind was elsewhere, tangled in a web of questions. Why had he asked? What did he mean by it? Was there something behind that glint in his eye? Something he wasn't saying? I found myself fidgeting, unable to stand still. My fingers toyed with a stray napkin on the counter, folding and unfolding it just to avoid looking at him too long. The kitchen felt smaller somehow, a dim light casting long shadows across the tiled floor, making the space feel both intimate and suffocating. I noticed every little detail in that moment. The faint hum of the refrigerator filled the silence. A few days have passed since that charged conversation in the kitchen, but the echo of Mark's question still lingers in my mind, like a persistent melody I can't shake. I've been restless ever since, caught between curiosity and a nervous anticipation I can't quite place. Tonight, though, is the night Mark hinted at. A guest is coming over for dinner. I'm standing at the dining table, fussing over the setup for what feels like the 100th time. The silverware glints under the soft chandelier light, and I adjust a fork just a fraction, as if perfection could calm the jittery energy buzzing through me. My hands are unsteady, and I can feel my pulse quickening for no reason I can name. Mark, on the other hand, is the picture of calm, standing at the stove, humming a tune I don't recognize as he stirs a pot of creamy mushroom risotto. The rich, earthy aroma fills the house, blending with the faint scent of the lavender candles I lit earlier. He glances over at me, a small, knowing smile tugging at his lips, and I wonder if he can sense the storm brewing inside me. The doorbell chimes, a sharp, clear sound that cuts through the quiet hum of the evening. My heart leaps into my throat as I smooth down my dress, a simple navy number I picked out after too much deliberation, and make my way to the door. I take a deep breath, steadying myself before turning the knob. There she is, Leah. She's striking in a way that steals the air from my lungs, tall with short, dark hair, cut into a sleek bob that frames her angular face perfectly. Her brown eyes are warm, almost liquid, and they seem to look straight into me, peeling back layers I didn't even know I had. Her smile is effortless, disarming, and when she speaks to introduce herself, her voice carries a soft, melodic quality that wraps around me like a gentle breeze. "Hi, Elena. I'm Leah. It's so nice to finally meet you," she says, and I'm momentarily lost in the way her words seem to dance in the air. I manage a smile, though I'm sure it's tinged with nerves, and invite her in. As she steps inside, she glances around, her gaze lingering on the little touches in our home. The framed prints on the walls, the cluster of succulents on the entry table. "You've got such a lovely space," she says, and there's a genuine warmth in her tone that eases me just a little. I thank her, my voice quieter than I intend, and lead her to the dining area. Her laugh, when it comes as we chat about nothing in particular, feels like a summer day, light and free, brushing against my skin in a way that makes my chest tighten with something I can't name. Dinner unfolds with an ease I didn't expect. The three of us sit around the oak table, the candlelight casting a soft glow over our faces as we pass dishes and poured glasses of deep ruby red wine. Conversation flows like the drink in our hands. Stories of far-off places we've traveled, debates over movies we've loved or hated, and shared laughter over quirky food preferences. Leah's presence is magnetic. Her stories are vivid, her gestures animated, and every so often her eyes catch mine across the table, lingering just a moment longer than feels casual. I feel a warmth spreading through me, a mix of the wine and something deeper, something unfamiliar yet thrilling. I notice Mark watching us, his expression unreadable, but he doesn't say anything. He just sips his drink, a quiet observer to whatever is unfolding between these four walls. After dinner, we migrate to the living room. Another bottle of wine and two. The atmosphere shifts subtly as we settle onto the plush couch, the dim lighting making the space feel more intimate. I am hyper-aware of Leah sitting beside me. The faint scent of her perfume, something floral and understated, mingling with the heavy aroma of the wine. Mark sits across from us in an armchair, his posture relaxed, but there's a deliberate edge to the way he looks at us now. He sets his glass down on the coffee table as I sit here on the plush couch in our living room. The soft glow of a single lamp bathes the space in a warm golden light that dances across Leah's features, highlighting the delicate curve of her cheekbones and the depth in her dark eyes. The silence between us isn't heavy in a bad way. It's more like a charged pause, a moment suspended in time where we're both waiting, breath held, for something to break the stillness. I can feel the tension in my own body. My hands are clammy, pressed against my thighs, and my breath comes in shallow, uneven waves. Every tiny detail seems amplified, almost too vivid to handle. The couch creaks ever so slightly as Leah shifts just a fraction closer, the sound cutting through the quiet like a whisper of intent. Her perfume, a subtle blend of jasmine and vanilla, wraps around me, intoxicating and warm, filling the space between us with an allure I can't ignore. I'm caught in this hyper-awareness, noticing everything. How the fabric of the couch feels rough under my fingertips as I try to ground myself. How the faint flicker of the lamp casts fleeting shadows on the wall. My heart is a drum in my chest, each beat louder than the last. And I can't tell if it's nerves or something else entirely. Then, Leah's voice breaks through, soft as a caress, barely above a whisper. "Are you okay, Elena?" she asks, and there's a genuine concern in her tone that makes my stomach twist in a way I didn't expect. I can't find my voice, so I just nod, my eyes locked on hers, feeling like she can see straight through me, past every wall I've ever built. She reaches out then, her hand moving slowly, deliberately, and I freeze as her fingers brush against my cheek. The touch is light, almost tentative, but it sends a shiver racing down my spine, a current of electricity that I can't control. Her fingertips trace the line of my jaw with a tenderness that feels both foreign and achingly familiar, as if my skin remembers something my mind can't grasp. It's like a spark igniting under her touch, a warmth spreading from where her fingers linger, making my breath hitch in my throat. I'm torn in that moment, my mind spiraling with thoughts of Mark, sitting just across the room in that armchair. His presence a silent weight I can't shake. I know he's there watching, and the thought of what I'm on the verge of doing presses down on me like a stone. Guilt claws at the edges of my thoughts, sharp and insistent. But there's something else too, a pull, a magnetic force drawing me toward Leah, stronger than I can resist. I lean into her touch without meaning to, my body acting before my mind can catch up. Our eyes lock, and I see something in hers, something intense, unguarded, a mirror to the storm inside me. Her lips curve into a small, knowing smile, subtle but loaded with meaning, and it sends another wave of heat through me. The space between us shrinks, our faces inching closer, and I can feel the heat of her breath mingling with mine. My heart is thundering now, a wild, untamed rhythm that drowns out everything else. Somewhere in the distance, I hear the faint ticking of the clock on the mantel, each second stretching into eternity, amplifying the intensity of this moment. It's as if time itself is holding its breath, waiting to see what I'll do next. Inside, I'm a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. There's guilt, heavy and bitter, reminding me of the life I've built with Mark, the promises we've made, the quiet comfort of our shared years. But there's also curiosity, sharp and bright, urging me to explore this unknown, to step into a space I've only ever dared to imagine in fleeting, private moments. And beneath it all, there's a raw, undeniable desire, a hunger I've never felt quite like this before, a need to know what lies on the other side of this boundary I'm teetering on. Every nerve in my body is alive, attuned to Leah's nearness, to the way her gaze holds mine. And then it happens. The space between us vanishes as our lips meet, soft at first, like a whisper of a question neither of us dares to ask aloud. It's tentative, almost fragile, as if we're both testing the waters of this uncharted territory. But then something shifts. A spark catches, and the kiss deepens with a hunger I didn't anticipate. A raw, desperate need surges through me like wildfire. Leah's kiss is unlike anything I've ever known. A perfect balance of gentle and commanding, pulling me under until I'm utterly lost in the sensation. My hands move on their own, finding her shoulders, then sliding up to tangle in her sleek, dark hair, the strands soft against my fingertips. I'm drowning in her, in the warmth of her closeness, in the way every thought in my head seems to dissolve into this single consuming moment. Her fingers glide to the nape of my neck, a slow, deliberate touch that sends a shiver cascading down my spine. I can feel the heat of her skin, the subtle pressure of her grip grounding me even as I feel myself spiraling. Our breaths mingle quick and uneven, a shared rhythm that drowns out the rest of the world. It's as if everything else, the living room, the faint hum of the night outside, even the weight of Mark's presence somewhere in this house, narrows to just this, just us, just the electric pulse of her lips against mine. The way my body responds without permission, leaning closer, craving more. My heartbeat is a thunderous roar in my ears, each thump echoing through me, a reminder of how alive I feel right now, more alive than I have in years. I'm acutely aware of the betrayal woven into this moment. Mark is somewhere in this house, maybe watching from the shadows of the hallway, maybe oblivious in his armchair just across the room. I don't know. And in this second, I can't bring myself to care. That thought, the danger of it, the forbidden edge, only sharpens the intensity, fueling the fire burning through me. It's wrong. I know it's wrong. But the guilt that was clawing at me moments ago fades into a distant hum, overpowered by the wave of desire crashing over me. I've spent so long holding back, taming every wild impulse. But now with Leah, I'm unmed, swept away by a current I can't fight. It's like waking up after a long, numb sleep. Every nerve in my body buzzing with a vitality I'd forgotten I could feel. The living room around us blurs into insignificance. The soft glow of the lamp reduced to a hazy backdrop as time itself seems to slip away. We're caught in a bubble, a stolen slice of reality where nothing exists beyond the warmth of her touch. The way her breath catches just slightly as we explore this newfound connection. It's not just physical, though the heat between us is undeniable. A silent language spoken through every brush of skin. It's deeper, a meeting of something unspoken, a longing I didn't even know I carried until now. My mind tries to linger on the edges of reason, but my senses take over, painting every detail in vivid color. The faint taste of wine on her lips, the subtle tremor in my own hands, the way the air feels charged, heavy with what we're not saying. When we finally pull apart, breathless, I'm struck by a rush of exhilaration, so sharp it almost hurts. My chest heaves as I try to catch my breath, my lips still tingling from the memory of hers. But with that high comes the inevitable crash, a wave of guilt that slams into me, cold and sobering. I glance toward the hallway, half expecting to see Mark standing there, his hazel eyes sharp with accusation or hurt. But there's only shadow, an empty stretch of darkness that offers no answers. My gaze flickers back to Leah, and her expression is soft, almost tender, a quiet reassurance in the way she looks at me. She reaches out, brushing a stray strand of hair from my face, her touch lingering just long enough to send another jolt through me. It's a small gesture, but it feels like a promise. As I sit there on the couch, the weight of what just happened with Leah settles over me like a heavy fog. My breath is still uneven, my mind a tangled mess of exhilaration and guilt. I look at her one last time, her eyes still holding that tender warmth, and I manage a small, shaky smile. "We'll talk soon," I murmur, my voice barely audible, a quiet promise hanging between us. She nods, understanding in her gaze, and I stand, feeling the tremble in my legs as I force myself to move. The living room feels smaller now, the soft glow of the lamp casting long shadows that seem to stretch and pull at me as I step away. I need to find Mark. I need to face whatever comes next, even if I'm not sure I'm ready for it. A hallway stretches out before me, dimly lit by a single sconce on the wall, its faint light flickering, as if it too is uncertain. My footsteps are soft against the hardwood, that each one echoes in my ears, a reminder of the distance I'm putting between myself and the moment I just shared with Leah. My hands are unsteady, brushing against the wall for balance as I make my way toward our bedroom. My heart is still racing, a wild rhythm that hasn't calmed since that first touch. And I can't shake the feeling that I've crossed a line I can't uncross. What will Mark say? What will he think? The questions swirl in my mind, each one sharper than the last, cutting through the haze of emotion that still lingers. I reach the bedroom door, and it's slightly ajar, a sliver of darkness peeking through. I push it open slowly, the hinges creaking in the quiet. And there he is. Mark is sitting on the edge of our bed, his silhouette framed by the faint moonlight filtering through the curtains. His shoulders are hunched slightly, his hands resting on his knees, and his face is unreadable in the dim light. I pause in the doorway, my breath catching in my throat, the tension between us palpable, a silent storm brewing in the space that separates us. I don't know what I expect. Anger, hurt, maybe even indifference. But the uncertainty of it all makes my stomach twist into knots. I take a tentative step forward, then another, until I'm close enough to feel the weight of his presence, heavy and grounding, yet somehow distant. I lower myself onto the bed beside him, the mattress dipping under my weight, and for a long moment, neither of us speaks. The silence stretches out, thick and suffocating, broken only by the faint sound of our breathing. I can feel the heat of him next to me, the familiar scent of cedar and spice that always clings to him, and it both comforts and confuses me. My hands fidget in my lap, fingers twisting together as I search for words that won't come. Finally, unable to bear the quiet any longer, I lean into him, resting my head against his chest. His heartbeat is steady beneath my ear, a slow, reassuring thud that contrasts with the chaos inside me. It's a rhythm I've known for years, one that has anchored me through countless moments. And yet tonight, it feels different, layered with questions I don't know how to ask. "Now I know what it's like," I whisper, my voice barely a breath, the words slipping out before I can stop them. "And I want more." There's a raw honesty in my confession, a truth I can't hide even if I wanted to. I wait, braced for his reaction, for the judgment or rejection I fear might come. Mark's face softens slightly, but the lines of concern and confusion remain. He reaches out, resting a hand lightly on mine. The touch is grounding, steadying, and in that simple gesture, I feel a tiny sliver of reassurance. I take a shaky breath, letting myself sink into the moment. The room is quiet, except for our breathing. A soft symphony of relief, tension, and lingering questions. And in that quiet, I realize the night has changed everything. The invisible threads that connected us all along have shifted, knotted into new patterns that I can't yet untangle. Mark doesn't speak immediately, just sits with me, letting the silence stretch. His steady presence is both comforting and unnerving, a reminder of everything we've shared and the fragile line we now teeter upon. Finally, he exhales slowly, a sound that seems to release some of the weight in the room. He turns slightly to face me, eyes searching, as if trying to understand not just what I've done, but why I feel the way I do. I meet his gaze, my own eyes betraying a mixture of shame, curiosity, and longing. Words fail me, but the honesty in my expression speaks volumes. He reaches for me again, a deliberate, steady gesture, and I let myself lean into him. The chaos inside me begins to calm, soothed by the familiar warmth of his presence. I realize that while tonight has been filled with confusion, desire, and unexpected connections, our bond remains resilient, threaded with a history that can't be undone. I close my eyes briefly, letting the silence wash over me. Each heartbeat, each breath, is a reminder that we are here, together, facing the unknown, side by side. Mark's hand tightens slightly around mine, an unspoken reassurance. No words are necessary. The language between us is quiet, subtle, and deeply understood. And night stretches on, soft and unbroken, carrying with it a mixture of relief, tension, and the delicate thrill of vulnerability shared. I feel alive in a way that's both exhilarating and terrifying. I know tomorrow will bring questions, perhaps discomfort. But for now, in this quiet, suspended moment, there is only the two of us, and that is enough. And so, the night ends not with answers, but with presence, a fragile, tentative presence that whispers promises of patience, understanding, and the courage to navigate whatever comes next.